segue, Fred, because speaking of long-term responsibility for debt management, it's becoming increasingly important that young people learn how to budget. And it just so happens that today, the day after the big budget here in this province, it happens to be Talk with Our Kids About Money Day. So joining us in the studio are 3 grade 6 students from Mary Queen of Peace Elementary. We have Fiona DeCoste, we have Jackson Party, and we have Alex Daw, along with their teacher, Miss Erin Daw. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to have you guys here up so early. I love it. So, when we talk about learning how to save money, where do you begin?
I think with saving money, most people, they don't realize how much they put in there. Like, oh, if I just got like maybe $5, I'll put a couple in for saving and then just like spend the rest. And they don't realize that they have to like save more and more. And then some people, they don't end up having much saved.
So this is interesting. When you say put in, I know you guys have an interesting system. So explain the jar system to us, how this works, and sort of how you're learning how to budget things.
Okay. So we played this game. We had a presentation, and we played this game where we rolled a die, and whatever number we got on the dice, there was a piece of paper that said, like, earn $10 for your birthday. And then we would take that and then decide how much goes into long-term savings, short-term savings, spending, and giving / donating.
Okay, so that's interesting. So generally, what would you decide to do, Alex? For example, you get that $10. What are you going to do with it?
I would put a pretty big chunk of it in spending, because just in case something happens, you're going to need to put some money in there to say there was one of the things on those sheets, like you broke your calculator and minus $8. And so, yeah. And say if you were going to save up to buy a new video game, you would probably put it in the short-term savings. And then if you were planning to go on a trip in a year or so, you'd probably put it in long-term savings. And just giving and sharing is just donating it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So what are some of the big lessons that you guys learned from this exercise?
Well, a lot of things that we learned was like there is a difference between like being smart about saving and then just like hoarding your money. So some people, they're so worried about not having any saved up that they put it like all into saving. But in reality, like you should put a certain amount into spending, short-term, long-term, and donating, because you still would need some to spend as well.
Did you put any of these lessons into action, like in your own life, like say with your allowance or whatever?
Yeah, I have. So recently my tablet broke, and we took all our birthday money, me and my brother, and we saved up to buy a new model of an iPad. So, yeah. And then some of it went into like short-term savings. We had some left over too, so yeah.
This is pretty cool. Ms. Daw, I want to put a question to you. How interesting has it been for you to sit back and kind of watch some of these real-life lessons taking shape in your students' lives?
It's very interesting. We decided to go ahead with it's the Canadian Foundation for Economic Education that organizes these Talk with Our Kids About Money sessions. Locally, it's Ted Van Nostrand who runs the program. So he came in about a month ago, I guess, and did a presentation for all of the grade 6 classes. It's just interesting to see how we integrate our math curriculum into what is basically real life experience. So if we're talking about the percentage of a number in grade 6, then they can figure out, okay, the percent, if I have $20 and I want to put 10% of that away, how much money is that? So that's where it really applies into our curriculum.
Okay, so how much is that, just off the top of your heads? Do you know?
$2.
So you're gonna put your $2 in. How different were each student's experiences? Like, did you find that some people had a tendency to put, like what you were saying, Alex, everything in spending, and then some putting things in savings? Like, tell us a little bit about how things kind of panned out in your class.
Some people in my class, they're like natural people who go to the mall. So yeah, I think most of their money would go into spending.
And who were the savers?
It's kind of hard to pick off right off the top of my head. Well, I save if that counts.
There you go. That definitely counts. Put that in the jar. So, how did this impact your relationship with your parents, for example? Like, did this sort of change things moving forward when you're in your own money management style?
I don't think too much because my parents they wanted me to know what I need to know. They didn't want me to be they didn't want me to move out and then be not know anything. So they wanted me to be pretty smart about it anyway. But I did learn a fair amount about how much am I putting away.
How about does it change how much money, like what you ask from your parents, for example?
I don't really know.
Maybe not. And then the other thing too is kind of like long-term planning, like you just mentioned, like your parents wanted you to know and be prepared when you're moving out. Like, how about, did this help you think about what you want to do when you grow up? How much money you're going to need?
I know I'm probably going to need a fair amount because I was always interested in space. So I know that to be an astrophysicist and stuff, you're probably going to need a fair amount of money to go get your PhD in astrophysics.
Yeah, a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And then when you think about how you want to live when you're older, have you guys thought about that as well?
Yeah, I think it's really important for kids to know how to handle their money when they get older, to support them and their family.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
And how about how did this shape your long-term plans?
Well, when I was younger, I always wanted to be like a firefighter or someone in the army. That's how I would say it. But now I'm more thinking like maybe dentist, because those get paid higher.
It's interesting because when you start factoring those things in and you learn the value of money, some of these things get shaped, right? Why is it so important that young people learn financial literacy, Ms. Dawn?
So very important, because we're all, when you get to be working in your career, you need to be budgeting all the time to figure out how much money is going to go on food, how much money is going to go on your mortgage, your car payment, all those kind of things. So it's very, very important. And if you start young, it's going to make a difference long term to figure out how much you need for your day-to-day living.
And there's a mentorship aspect here, I would guess, too. Like, what would you guys say to your younger brothers or sisters now based on some of the money lessons you've learned?
Well, I know I have a little brother, and whenever he gets money every now and then, if he's not cleaning up his room, my parents be like, "I'll give you $2 if you go clean up your room." And every time he gets it, he says, "Can we go walk to Marie's? I want to go get some candy." But I'm always telling Reese, "No, you have to save that first when you might actually need it." And it's only $2, but eventually, as you build up, it will eventually count.
Has he listened?
I don't think so.
He still wants to go down to the
He's
store.
only 6, so I don't think so.
My sister is only 4, but she always asks for toys.
Oh,
My parents have to spend a lot of money on toys, but a lot of times they have to say no.
And so have you shared any of your lessons with her based on that, on the budgeting? Maybe you should save up or something?
I don't think she'd understand.
Yeah.
I'll probably tell her in the future, though. Yep.
Do you guys think you would have understood all this maybe 2 years ago?
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe.
I mean,
probably
grade
not.
5 or grade 6 is a good time to start with all these presentations.
Fantastic, guys. It was really great to hear your perspective on all this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And